Welcome everybody. This is Dr. Eric Woodroof, and I'd like to take a few minutes of your time to introduce you to the Carbon Reduction Manager program. This program is from AEE, which is now in its 36th or 37th year of achievement, and the Carbon program has been around basically since 2007. It was a program that was created to offer some extension education for people who are doing the CEM program, or just anyone who wanted to know about the carbon reduction management process, or GHG management in short. Again, my name is Dr. Eric Woodroof. My company is Profitable Green Solutions, and that's my picture. I'll move on so you can get over that. Let me tell you a little bit about this program. We've had a lot of fun with this program in the last 5 years. We've run this program on several continents, and just it's really interesting, the types of people. We've had consultants, we've had strategy people, large corporations, governments, etc., endorse the program. A little bit about me. I am the chairman of the Carbon Reduction Manager program, so I know a little bit about it. I've written some books on energy and carbon, and that's on the left-hand side. I have some clients, which you can see. But in 2011, I was the president of the Association of Energy Engineers, and have just enjoyed this whole ride and playing with wonderful people who do wonderful things all over the world. So it's really an honor to keep continuing to do that, and in a variety of ways, AEE being one of them. So let me continue on with the CRM program. The agenda for today is very, very short. I'm just going to do a quick introduction about the overall overview, goal of the program, and then talk a little bit about some course material, and then just show you the website to go to where you can reserve your seat. Overview of the program is very, very simple. We try to make things as transparent as possible. What we're trying to accomplish here is give people a soup to nuts overview of carbon and the carbon markets. And so, first of all, you might want to understand why you would care about carbon or GHG reporting. And so we're going to talk about those things in the beginning of the course. Basically, are you required to report or reduce emissions? In certain countries you are, in certain countries you aren't. And even in this country, in the United States, you may not be formally required to, but you might want to because of marketing. So there's a lot of reasons on why. We'll move right into after that we'll move right into the what category, which is kind of how to get some guidance documents, what these programs look like, the overall process, everything from design to auditing, reporting, verification, all these terms, what they mean. We basically go through all of those things. And then we talk about how, and there's several documents, so you could call them instruction guidelines on how to do these types of reporting, whether it's emissions reporting or verification, whether you're in a Kyoto country or not, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. Ultimately, they're all pretty similar, but understanding them is important to the process, and we go through that. And then a lot of the course is very tactical. We focus on how to get things done, how to do the carbon auditing, how to do all of these things, how to do offset projects. Everyone can try to reduce all they can, but they still are going to have some emissions, and every company is going to have some emissions. So we can show how to become carbon neutral or partially carbon neutral through projects and offsets that are verified and legitimate, and help you avoid the scams. And then finally, we'll talk about marketing and selling, because those things, if you can't do those things, it really doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to work because it won't get approved. So we'll talk about some advanced things there. Just going back to the how really quickly, the world is changing again. In 2007, 2008, we had a lot of interest in carbon. It's kind of waned off in the last few years. But now, with some of these superstorms, if you will, it is changing the dynamic. Some of the choices we have to make in energy, whether it's the Gulf oil spill, we have to balance that against fracking, against, Middle East or foreign oil transfer, which last I checked was around $35 billion a month in the United States going to foreign oil. Those are things and choices we have to decide, and carbon is part of that picture. If you look at carbon emissions per capita, you'll notice that a couple of countries have gone up significantly, and these are very large countries in population. China has gone up significantly. I mean, it's only 0.5 metric tons per person, but there's 4 times as many people in China as there are in the United States, and the same is true for India. So any increase there is quite significant because there's so many more people. And many of the other countries have gone down, but it's overwhelming the size of this problem and how complicated it is. But you can see that the United States, being at 18 and now 17 metric tons per person, we're not there. Let's just say there's a lot of opportunity for improvement there. In China, I've been to China, I've been to many places in China and other places where the smog is so bad and pollution, it really is becoming a health issue. And those are externalities. Now, in the United States, we don't really have any formal legislation on carbon reduction, but we do have some things that are going on in carbon reporting, mandatory reporting if you're over a certain size, and EPA has just implemented that in the last couple of years. So you can notice some of these dates are relatively current, particularly this tailoring rule, which talks about if you have so many emissions tons you have to report, and there's various tools to do that, et cetera. Other, terminology you'd want to know, and we'll go through in this class, is as far as what you need to report. It can depend on a lot of things, and we'll go through that terminology and how they categorize or account for these different types of emissions, Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. We explain all of that in the carbon course. We use some common tools, particularly this tool is one of them. It's the most popular reporting tool in North America. We also teach it in China, South Africa, and other places. But basically it goes through very, very specific step-by-step instructions on how to do emissions reporting, and we go through that. We even do a carbon audit in the class and really make sure our students understand that very, very well. So it's, kind of depends on where you are, as how much your emissions you are, because the emissions are dependent on the power plant fuels that are used, and this shows you different power plant fuels as an example. That was kind of funny. And we try to have some fun in the class too, but you can see different areas of the country have different emissions per megawatt hour. We'll also go through things called global warming potential factors, which show you that not all gases are created equal. Taking a look at CO2, that has a factor of 1, but methane is a factor of 21, which means that methane is 21 times more powerful as a greenhouse gas. And that's important because when you're doing emissions reporting and trading, you can multiply by these GWPs to figure out what your net CO2e is. And that is important because it impacts the trading volume and impacts the true emissions footprint, if you will. We'll show you audit templates on how to put all this stuff together and make it simple. We'll try to show you ways to convert metric tons into environmental equivalencies that people can actually understand, like acres of trees or gallons of gas not consumed or cars off the road. We have a lot of fun examples to talk about that. We'll show you the documents you might need to look at if you want to go further into verification or voluntary reporting anywhere in the world. We can show you all these different tools. Carbon trading, a whole other area. Growth of projects, unbelievable what's going on in carbon trading, and this shows you where the money's coming from, and then I could show you another chart that is where the projects are, mostly in China. In the United States, we actually have trading going on very actively. This is from 2010, and a year later, taking a look at the growth of projects, and I think that's grown even more. I just don't have the chart for 2012. But all of these things represent projects, and this is just one trading platform. So we'll talk about all those different options, ways that you can most cost-effectively steer your company to go carbon neutral, or reduce carbon footprint, I should say. This is on the Kyoto Protocol. This is UNFCCC, and you can see the date, January 31st, 2013. You can see the projects are going up again, and it's just very interesting. It's fun to play in this. There's a lot of trading, a lot of interesting projects going on. This would be an example of a project for methane recovery, where you're basically taking a sewer pit or a dairy farm pit or even a wastewater treatment plant, and you're able to capture that methane gas, which is a carbon reduction strategy, and then reuse the gas and burn it, creating basically waste to energy. And by doing this, you also take that methane, turn it into CO2, which takes you from a GWP factor of 21 to something that's around 1. So you have a gain in emissions that way too. So lots of ways you can make money off the methane, fuel sale as well as the carbon trade. Another reason you might want to be interested in this from a company perspective is that 80% of young people, or a significant percentage of young people, I would say, want to work with a company that's doing something to the environment. And many companies are being graded on how well or poorly they're doing in carbon and GHG reporting in general. This is a dated study, but it still goes on today. And this is stereotyping that happens all the time, people putting solar panels on their roof, not for the 12-year payback, but to try to lure more people from other tech companies. I could talk about Frito-Lay and some of the things they've done. Incredible, let's just say, multi-project type look at, how they reduce their footprint and sustainability image altogether. You could look at, very big buildings that have made big strides here, big companies, even governments that are showcasing their marketing, their GHG their sustainability mission, if you will, because they know that people care and it drives sales, it drives attractiveness to different cities and different companies. We'll show you how we do proposals for projects just so you can see how to sell projects and how to put the terms in the right way, in the right order that gets the most impact. So we try to share a lot of marketing because personally I'd like to see more projects get done. Just to review the schedule of this Carbon Reduction Manager program, and again, overall the goal here is to create people, professionals in the environment out in the workforce that are competent and have passed an exam that says they're competent, and they get a certificate which is somewhat leverageable in your career. The basic certificate saying, hey, you know something about this and you passed a test. So overall, just to review the schedule, it's a 3-day course. We spend the first little bit of the morning getting to know the class and understanding the outline and how we do things. We'll talk about trends and GHGs and, as I said before, the why. We'll talk about the Kyoto Protocol, the legislative requirements. Are you or are you not required to report emissions? Maybe you're required by the SEC too as well. There may be some real market factors that are pushing you, or maybe your company sells to Walmart and they've demanded that you do GHG reporting or some type of sustainability survey. These are drivers that would make you want to do this kind of stuff and learn this information. By the afternoon of the first day, we're already doing carbon footprint and actually doing an audit at the end of the first day. The second day, we get into practical strategies in energy or even recycling, how to show recycling to reduce your carbon footprint. We can continue that through the morning. In the afternoon, we do carbon credits and trading, and then we do the big exercise, carbon audit review and debrief, and make sure everyone understands everything. We review a little bit of economics and what I'd call MBA math of time value of money calculations. In the day 3, we don't so much focus on stuff that's going to be on the test, but stuff that's going to help people in their careers. We do alternative financing and marketing, which is by far often sometimes people like that the most because I guess they're engineers and they haven't heard it before, but it's very, very cutting edge stuff. And then we usually start the exam on the 3rd day, and that's a 4-hour exam, open book, just like the CEM, Certified Energy Manager Program, and similar style of questions, if you will. You can learn more about the program, the CRM program, on the AEE website. Again, you can call the phone number. Once again, this is Dr. Eric Woodroof, and again, I hope this has been helpful to you. Finally, the purpose of this program is to somewhat level the playing field and improve the competency of professionals working in the GHG and carbon markets. Anyway, hope that helps you, and have a great day.